Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if this is your very first time discovering my little YouTube channel, welcome. I hope you like what you see and I hope you stay and I hope you subscribe. I really appreciate that. So my job here at Movie Review Mom is to give you the heads up on movies so you know what the content is and the filmmaking quality so you can decide ahead of time whether or not you think you want to spend your time or your money watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is Horizon Line. This movie is rated PG-13. It's an hour and 32 minutes. And sadly, the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a D for dumb. So let me tell you why I thought that. I'll give you a quick overview. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as tips for parents and themes that were worth talking about after you watch the movie, if you choose to watch the movie. So in a nutshell, this movie is from the creators of 10 Cloverfield Lane and The Shallows, and I liked both of those movies. It's a survivor thriller directed by Michael Marsimane and written by Josh Campbell and Matthew Stukin. It has preposterous scenarios. So it's both suspenseful and laughable at the same time. It falls into the category that January movies are often the year's worst movies. The theme of the movie is Fly or Die, which again is suspenseful and kind of laughable. So let me give you some quick tips for parents. There is alcohol, smoking, and drug use, both mentioned and illustrated. There are premarital relations. Someone dies of a heart attack, and people are in perilous situations. The positive themes that are mentioned and illustrated in the movie are hope, and that is one of my all-time favorite themes in a movie or a book. Hope is such a powerful thing, and it really does keep people going. And I think that that's really important. Other themes are love, survival, of course, tenacity, resourcefulness, friendship, loyalty, forgiveness, and second chances. So there were things that I liked about the movie. Even the worst movie that I watch, I can still find some good elements. And so that definitely applies to this film. First of all, you get to go to some pretty cool places like Mauritania and London. And I always like to travel in movies. And for trivia buffs, you get to see this airplane. It's called a Gips Aero GA8 Airvan. And I understand none of those words. But you might appreciate that. Allison Williams is one of the main protagonists in the movie, and I think she's really beautiful and is a lovely actress, but I just didn't like her character at all in this movie. Now, that's not her fault. That's partly the writing. And I'll get to more about that in just a minute. But did you know, actually, about Allison Williams, that her father is the famous Brian Williams, the former NBC Nightly News anchor? I didn't know that about her until I was doing some research. Her mom is Jane Gillan Stoddard, a TV producer. And Allison herself is one smart cookie, having graduated from Yale University. While she was at Yale, she actually auditioned in a musical play, but was turned down and later joined an improvisation group called Just Add Water, which I think is kind of a cute name. When she got married to Ricky Van Veen, actor Tom Hanks was the officiant at the wedding. So that's super cool. On sad news, though, she's now divorced from Ricky. You might have seen her in the award-winning movie Get Out, and she is a really good actress. People loved her in that movie. She just doesn't have a lot of really clever, smart, good material to work with in this movie. There's a lot of screaming done on her part. And honestly, I'd be screaming too if I were in that situation. I'm just saying. So another actor in the movie is Keith David. Who doesn't like Keith David, he's such a likable guy in many of his roles on TV. The other protagonist in the movie does an okay job. Again, he just doesn't have a whole lot of great material to work with. I didn't like his character either, so I kind of feel badly, but I didn't care whether they lived or died. That's such a terrible thing to say, but I know they're just characters. They're not real people. I would never feel that way about real people. There is a lot of action, so that's good. And there's some very pretty cinematography by Flavio Martinez and Labiano, who also did The Shallows, which was done really, really well. And if you haven't seen that movie, I recommend it. It's kind of a simple story, but that movie did a great job of building tension. Some of the CGI is pretty good in this movie, and there is a spoiler alert. There is some foreshadowing when Sarah, the protagonist, actually talks about alcohol as rocket fuel. Dun, dun, dun. Now, there were some things I didn't like, obviously. First of all, I thought that the two leading characters were super annoying. They're paper thin and super cliched, and it's a plot that we've seen done before many times and better. We don't really know that much about either character, especially Alexander Draymond's character, to make us really like him and root for him. We aren't really given a whole lot of backstories. We don't really know how they fell in love, what attracted them to each other besides their good looks. So again, we didn't feel, or at least I didn't feel, super invested in their relationship. I didn't care whether it worked or not. And that's not good if you have the audience not even really caring. So there was some work that needed to be done there for sure. And maybe I blinked and missed it, but I couldn't tell how much time had passed between when the couple first met and then when they were reunited. I'm not sure if that would have helped a lot, but maybe. The dialogue is just super lame. As I mentioned, there's lots of screaming between the characters, some really bad editing, and it's definitely not worth running out to the theaters to go see. You can wait until it shows up on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that if you want. There will be plenty of things in the movie that you're just going to roll your eyes and go, oh, why didn't they do that? Or why did they do that? For example, they never even look for parachutes. I think I probably would have checked for that early on as soon as the pilot had his heart attack and died. The action of the movie is fairly believable, but then it just becomes increasingly more ridiculous. And that's really where the movie falters, is it's just so silly. And because of that, you don't feel as much tension, suspense, and certainly not worry for these characters in the movie. Now, I always write down funny lines and interesting lines in my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can go there to check more of those out. But there were a couple of lines that made me laugh out loud. And both of them actually were spoken by Allison Williams's character, Sarah. So at one point she says, OMG, that must have hurt so bad. I can't believe I just did that. Which is a really dumb line, but I also just thought it was kind of funny. And then another time, her ex-boyfriend does something and she says, that was amazing what you just did. So stupid, but so amazing. Again, not a super clever line, but I think probably all of us would be not Shakespeare if we were in that same situation. And then the line that you hear most often in the movie is, Jackson. Allison Williams yells that 100 times at least in the movie, and I just laughed because it just drove me nuts. And then here is another actually poignant line spoken by Keith David's character. And the theme, I think the main message of the movie, at least I think that that's what the filmmaker was trying to get to, was when Keith David's character says, love isn't being made for each other, it's being willing to make things work. And I think that that's a great message, especially when you're married. However, if you're just dating and it doesn't work out, that maybe that means you weren't made for each other. So there was a little bit of a disconnect in the characters and that message, which I think is super appropriate when you've committed your lives to each other with a ring on your finger. You know what I mean? Anyway, before I go, let me give you some recommendations of other movies that I think you might like that are sort of like this one. The first one being Sully. It's a true story of an airplane disaster starring Tom Hanks. And so I love that it is a true story. I loved his character and some of the decisions that he made to save lives. Another interesting movie is called Adrift, and it's about two survivors at sea. So, not in an airplane, but they've got to keep their wits about them and be able to survive. And then there are some other interesting things that happen. I won't give you any spoilers. And then another classic survival movie is also a true story. I think it was a Peruvian soccer team. They were flying to or from a tournament, and their airplane crashed way up high in the mountains, covered by snow, and they had to survive. And it's just harrowing. And they did a really good job with that movie. All right, that's it for my review today. I hope if you watch this movie that you get a kick out of it, that you would enjoy it, and maybe you even learn some lessons from it. And if you don't like it, well, I gave you fair warning. All right, I hope you have a great day, and I will catch you in the next movie review. Bye for now.